So the new expansion for World of Warcraft has been announced. On Tuesday, we got to see what was in store for us next, and that is the Dragon Isles in the expansion Dragonflight. And I'm on the fence about it. On one hand, we're going back to Azeroth. We are going back and doing something grounded, helping dragons. It's been stated in interviews that Dragonflight will be about exploration, the sense of wonder that makes World of Warcraft World of Warcraft. Essentially, they are putting the world in World of Warcraft again. To directly quote the interview that Jeremy Fiesel and Graham Berger did with Us Gamers, we've just gone to the afterlife, where there's this huge, crazy cosmic story in Zereth Mortis that deals with the jailer and the first ones. This is an opportunity for us to head back to Azeroth and into a very grounded space that feels like classic World of Warcraft. One of the main focuses with this expansion is going to a place that's not necessarily about a world-ending threat. It's about history. It's about characters. It's about exploration. That's the name of the game. From the get-go, you're heading off on an exploration-based adventure. The groups that you set out with aren't even military groups. And that is probably one of the best things I have heard in years. A focus on character, history, and exploration is everything I could have ever wanted out of a WoW expansion. And you can see that they're taking this to heart by how the official Dragonflight cinematic was presented. Without any dialogue, we see the life and journey of one of Tyr's Titanic Watchers. We get a story. We learn his history, all within a span of about 3 minutes. After 10,000 years, he's finally awoken. All of his friends are gone. He is the last one of his kind, but he has a duty to fulfill. He is duty-bound, and he is willing to die for that duty, which he almost does. That's more development than any character in the Shadowlands had. I felt more for a piece of sentient rock than a character who has been around for 30 years. And that's great. That is what Shadowlands and BFA outside of Sarfang really lacked. I hope this Watcher, who is apparently named Watcher Koronos, is a sign for what's to come. Give me something down-to-earth, heartfelt, and some sort of goofy-ass story that feels like a damn early 2000s DreamWorks movie. Because when you think about it, that's kind of what WoW has always been, and it really lost that feeling back in BFA. But on the other hand, Shadowlands and the latter half of Battle for Azeroth, it was so fucking bad. It's hard not to feel skeptical about all of this. Because this expansion, it needs to knock it out of the park. Because if it doesn't, I don't know how much longer the game is going to last. After everything that has happened, Blizzard needs a redemption arc. And they need to do right by the fans. Those who have stayed, those who have left, and the developers themselves, both past and present. In lieu of this, let's take a look at what they announced, and I will give my thoughts on each and every one of them. World of Warcraft Dragonflight will be taking place on the Dragon Isles. Obviously, the Dragon Isles is, according to the devs, multiple different zones, 4 unless I am mistaken. That means no new revamps to the old world, at least not at the start, or not any that have been confirmed. And from what was shown of these 4 zones, I get a heavy Mist of Pandaria, heavy Wrath of the Lich King vibe. The Dragon Isles, from what I have seen, literally looks like an updated Northrend. Like, let me go and grab a screenshot of the boring tundra and the Grizzly Hills and slap it next to a screenshot of the Azure Span, which is one of the new zones. Like, that is literally a high-res version of the Grizzly Hills mixed with the plains of the Boran Tundra. Not to mention that, according to the snippets of lore we got from the panel, the Dragon Isles was shrouded in this dense fog or mist hidden from the rest of the world, similar to that of Pandaria. So without even touching the expansion, everything is giving me serious Wrath and Mop vibes, and those are not bad vibes to have. Wrath and Mist of Pandaria are widely considered to be 2 of the greatest pieces of media in all of Warcraft. So to make and design an expansion that feels like those 2 without even having the players touch the game is really good. That means that they are actually nailing the setting, something that was sorely lacking in Shadowlands. Now, along with the Dragon Isles, we're also getting a new class and a new race, which is something that hasn't happened since MoP, which is another MoP-like comparison. And just like back then, it looks weird. According to the reveal, these homies are called the Dracthyr, a creation by Neltharion, better known to the player base as Deathwing. But this is Deathwing before he became Deathwing, so he's Neltharion, not Deathwing, because he's not Deathwing. Anyways, the premise is Neltharion took the best traits of the dragons, and he tailored them together with the best traits of the mortal races in hopes of creating this super giga army likely to protect the Dragon Isles from those like the Jeriden, one of the ancient enemies of the dragons. As it might be expected, the Dracthyr look weird because of that. They don't look like they would fit beside a gnome or an elf. But I remember the same thing being said for the Pandaren. I know for a fact it was said because I had friends who said it. Look, I'm willing to give him a chance. It is the least I can do, and I seriously doubt that their appearance will really matter if Dragonflight is really good. Alongside the Dracthyr, there will be a new class, as I have said. It is the Evoker, likely named because it'll invoke the power of the aspects. Now, unlike before though, the Evoker is not something played by all races, or even just some. Dracthyr, and only Dracthyr, can be Evokers, and only Evokers can be Dracthyr. And that is an interesting concept, which is not entirely unlike Demon Hunters, and it's ballsy. I will give them that. It is very, very ballsy. My only concern, how are the Dracthyr channeling the powers of the Dragonflights if the powers of the Dragonflights was suspended in Cataclysm? Obviously, from the trailers, we were set to undo one of the biggest mistakes of that era of WoW, but that doesn't necessarily answer how the Dracthyr are using their power now. Because I assume they're going to be available at the start, right? Are they just outside the spectrum then? Are they so mortal that they just are capable of using it regardless? When the Dragonflights had their power severed, did the severance not occur to those still on the Dragon Isles? Is the Dragon Isles the source of all the Dragonflight's power, and by suspension they merely drained all of their power without going back home? That is the biggest question I have, and I find it super likely that it will be answered. Now, let's see here. What else was announced? We got talent trees are returning to the game. There will be a UI revamp. You can ride around on dragons, which is pretty neat. Professions will be reworked, all of which I'm actually really excited for. I'm not a big gameplay guy, but professions, talents, sign me the fuck up, bro. Let me craft the goddamn super mace for level 45 and let me take all of his cash. Let me milk the damn bag market and make another million or two. Let me build a Shieldedin out of my prot paladin with these new talent systems. Other than that, I mean, there's really not much else to say. The announcement was, while it did cover some of the basics, it really did feel very bare bones, and I feel like that was done purposefully because Dragonflight likely won't be released until next year, so they have to pad out the news with continuous updates on the game. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I believe that is why they chose to announce the expansion so early. If they want to sit here, give us feedback, listen to our feedback, and change things as they develop, I welcome that. Like, seriously, take your time with this. Don't rush it. Listen to the fans, because you can't rush this, okay? Dragonflight needs to be the best the game has ever been, because as it stands, there's a lot of people on the fence about this, and I'm one of them. 10.0 is it for me. If it's more of the same, if there's systems that are super unfriendly to players, if the story continues to wipe away everything that came before in a super disrespectful manner, I will be done with the retail version of this game, and I cannot stress that enough. I would rather no life an era of WoW that I've already played that respects my time and gives me a true sense of fulfillment than have another Shadowlands. So 10.0 really needs to hit on every level of the game. It needs to nail the hardcore setting, it needs to nail the casual setting, and it needs to feel like Warcraft. Already it's hitting the Warcraft vibe that Shadowlands never did. We're dealing with dragons. We're dealing with titans. We're going to an unfamiliar locale rooted in reality, full of things both familiar and new. We're getting gnolls. We're getting centaur. We're getting gorloks, tuskar. And look, I know there will be people who will never be pleased with everything. You can just go on Twitter and search for yourself, but if you make a good expansion, even if there are things people dislike, no one will give a fuck because everything else was so good. I'm not a doomsayer. Okay, I'm not trying to talk bad about the game. I have faith. I know they can do it. I know they can create something good because they have done it before. So do it, Blizzard. Build the Warcraft we want to play. Fulfill your role as curators of the game and the franchise. So far things look good, but that doesn't mean it'll necessarily be good. We'll just have to wait and see whenever Dragonflight releases, If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more in the future, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content relating to World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Borderlands, and Star Wars. Of course, if you have any specific topics you would like for me to cover in the future regarding WoW, the game, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching, and remember well.